What is a great TV show that never became popular? I wish more people watched the IT Crowd in the US. I hate laugh tracks and I still loved it. The IT Crowd actually had a live audience, not a laugh track. Cool. That makes it a bit more palatable. Reaper was great, but was cancelled too early unfortunately. Loved that show, can only ever see Ray Wise as the devil now. Happy Endings. A great little comedy that deserved better. I absolutely adore that show. Great writing and superior to New Girl. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. The new version was awesome. So mad they cancelled it. Fringe. Heck, I'd be happy with just a mini-series of Walter and Astro in the lab. Better Off Ted https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/better_off_ted, Slacker Cats https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/slacker_cats, Future Man https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/future_man_back/tv_series backslash Powerless https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/powerless_back/tv_series backslash The Brink https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/the_brink_back/tv_series backslash Almost Forgot Dan vs https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/dan_versus, featuring one of my favorite actors, Curtis Armstrong. Better Off Ted is amazing, with Portia de Rossi being particularly fun to watch. She plays that character so well. So deadly serious it's hilarious. Travelers S1 and S3 are stellar, raving reviews too. The shtick where a newly arrived traveler sees undestroyed Earth for the first time and just can't believe it, it's a feeling that nothing else can quite compare to, and I'm getting queasy again just writing about it. Also great characters, just the right mix of clever but not too serious/heavy, and the whole premise is of course extremely fucking relevant. That was a great show that deserved more time. It is sad that they killed the person they traveled into, but the good guys always traveled into someone that was about to die anyway. Yeah, although I never understood Protocol 5. They're not supposed to change history unless ordered to do so by the director, but they're supposed to continue living the host body's life as if they were them. If the hosts historically died, how does pretending to be them not change things pretty drastically? Loved ones that should have moved on, now don't. Jobs that should have become vacant, now aren't. This is massive butterfly effect stuff. Dead Like Me. Very underrated show. If you've never heard about it, this is all you really need to know to start off. The main character, a young female slacker, gets killed in the first 10 minutes by a toilet seat falling from an abandoned space station that burns up in the atmosphere. She then gets recruited as a Reaper. Her job is to basically separate people's souls from their bodies shortly prior to their death so that they can transition to the afterlife without the trauma of their deaths weighing on their souls. It's a dark comedy that is profoundly deep at times. It also stars Mandy Patinkin in a supporting role. It was a great show. Anyone who has not seen Dead Like Me needs to know that while people say there is a movie, there is no Dead Like Me movie, there is only rage and sadness in a Glem box. Seriously, the show is so good but the movie ruined the show worse than Crystal Skull ruined Indiana Jones. Do not watch IT but absolutely do watch the show. The Oa. I'll never forgive Netflix for cancelling it. That cancellation was tragic. Oblongs it was a part of those strong of adult shoes that wasn't really too raunchy but it still had its zingers to it. The son not being able to sleep unless he was hearing the sound of his parents' bed squeaking. If it came out today or a few years ago it would have been more appreciated. Counterpart, amazing sci-fi, espionage series that lasted 2 seasons at Showtime a few years ago. J.K. Simmons plays a meek, gentle paper pusher at a mysterious company in Berlin who finds out that his organization is actually in charge of communicating with a twin organization in an alternate universe. He then meets his own twin who is an amoral, cynic, calculating assassin. Amazing stuff. You had me at J.K. Simmons, pushing daisies. Police Squad. Jericho, cool premise, space above and beyond, gritty sci-fi is always great. Loved Jericho so much. I'm glad they had a heads up that it was getting cancelled and cobbled together somewhat of a conclusion in the second half of season 2. That hasty conclusion made me really want to see what they could have done with more time, because although rushed, it was an interesting world they built. Mindhunter on Netflix was so good. Jonathan Groff is an amazing singer, but he got to show off his amazing acting in this show. Netflix doesn't have any plans for a third season, unfortunately. Hell on Wheels is a seriously slept-on show. It was on AMC at the same time as Breaking Bad and when The Walking Dead was at its peak, so it got shoved under the rug, but I think it's better than both. I liked the first half of the show. Then it just went downhill during season 3. I didn't care for them killing off the character in season 2, but the Swede and Cullen's relationship kept me hooked till the end. Grounded for life. I don't think Letterkenny has enough traction. Maybe because I live in Australia and literally no one has heard of it here, but I love that show. It's quick, funny and dialogue heavy. Like a comedic Aaron Sorkin show for Hicks. I love it. Hulu picked it up as an original series here in the States, so it's getting popular. The Middle. It's probably my favorite ever and no one I know has heard of the show. Middle was one of the few shows I caught from the very beginning and went all the way through. Seemed to just be decent to okay until about S5, when it just got better and better. Programs with kids I feel like always struggle as they grow up, but this only improved. You're the worst, you're the best for mentioning this awesome show. It's like if Always Sunny was a romantic comedy. I get happy whenever I see one of the main 4 actors show up in something else, Jimmy in Detective Pikachu or Gretchen in The Boys. Freaks and Geeks. Until the DVD release, then it got wildly popular. But in an interview Jason Segel said he didn't think a second season of it would be very funny, he figured Nick wasn't headed for a very bright future. I think they released some planned plots for season 2, and one was Bill joins the basketball team after the coach, his mom's boyfriend, saw he had some skill, creating friction in the Geeks. Party Down. Such a stellar cast, great premise, but got kneecapped when their eventual stars all got bigger gigs. Jane Lynch went on to do Glee, Adam Scott landed his gig on Parks and Rec, and the show ended after 2 seasons. Still one of my favorite comedy shows. Are we having fun yet? Yes, another Party Down fan. That show was the best. NBC's Hannibal is a masterpiece. Well, the target audience is rather specific, I think. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. When my wife died I could barely finish my lunch. Clone High. Lasting 13 episodes, it had a hilarious, but brief, run on MTV in the early 2000s. Crossing my fingers that the rumors of a possible reboot come true. Just won't be the same without Gandhi. Don't Trust the Bee. I loved that show. The cast were great and it was actually funny. I still rewatch now and again, don't know why it was never popular. It's also a show I think could be genuinely rebooted without it being forced. Legion was one of the most creative shows I've ever seen, but barely anyone knows about it. It lasted 3 good seasons, all of which are very diverse. It might be the best superhero TV show ever. But half the time people think I'm talking about that old Paul Bettany film. This is one of the few truly unique and creative shows I've seen in recent years, between building their world and building their characters and exploring mental illness all the while through. It was done brilliantly. Sense8 was the one with the multiple people that could feel one another's presence. Dark. This show should, at least, be on the same hype level as Stranger Things or Fargo. Shit was a masterpiece. Far and away the finest treatment of time travel as a plot device. Too often time travel is used as a hand-wavy magic free-for-all. Dark nails it every time. I was so afraid the 3rd season would devolve into a convoluted mess, but instead they actually wrapped it up logically and tied with a neat bow. It was something to see. News radio was a critical darling, but not a big following, but goddamn that show was funny. Then there's stuff like Rubicon, or Lights Out, which me and at most 6 other people were watching. I feel like we should have some sort of support group, but how would we find each other? News radio kept getting moved around in their time slots. If they had left it somewhere, it would have been more widely popular than it was. People just didn't know how to find it.